Sports Radio 1400 WKAV. Hey, this is the morning show. Good morning. And I thought I'd get this guy back on because I still can't get over what happened Wednesday night at the John Paul Jones Arena as Duke put a beat down on the Cavaliers. I'm sorry to say that to our listeners, but that's what happened. This guy writes a great blog. His name's Hamilton Riley. He's the man behind LambethField.com. Hamilton, how you doing this morning?
Hey, Mark, what's going on?
Are you doing better than the Cavaliers basketball team's doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to feel after watching that game. Should I be happy that they held a top 5 scoring team in the country that averages 83 points a game to 56 points? Or should I be disappointed that they couldn't buy a bucket in the second half? I mean, it was just a range of emotions trying to follow that game. They took the early advantages, that Duke gave them with turnovers and played them fairly well, except for a little spurt at the end of the first half, and then they just came out and it was like there was a lid on the basket, and it went downhill from there. And I'm actually kind of happy they scored over 40 points to be able to make it somewhat respectable at the end. But Duke did everything that they needed to do, and they just put the clamps down on the second half. And I hate to use the excuse again, but when you don't have interior ability to score and you're trying to work out on the perimeter, I mean, you live and you die by the three. And you look at the Florida State game, they came back using the three-pointers when they could hit it, and when you don't make it, you end up with 41 points.
Sports Radio 1400, we're here with Hamilton Riley, the guy behind LambethField.com, writes a great blog here on UVA Sports. And yeah, I wanted to ask you this, okay? Has this been one of the most disappointing, I mean, maybe that's not even the right word, is it the most frustrating basketball seasons you've seen in a while?
Well, in following UVA as long as I have, it is definitely in the top 5. It kind of finds a way. UVA just kind of finds a way to have seasons like this every once in a while. I mean, I remember a couple times when Gillen first took over, and he had a great recruiting class with Majestic Knapp and Travis Watson, and it was going to be the building of a great program, and then Majestic Knapp never got off his feet, and Travis Watson had 2 good years and then kind of plateaued his senior year, and then it kind of went downhill from there. But it always seems to be one thing, that kind of gets the season off. This year, when Scott went down, everything was going really well, and then we lose a huge, literally part of our equation. The year before that, you have the attrition with Tristan Spurlock and Jones and that team, and it since 2007, it's been kind of like wait till next year, and unfortunately, as much as you want to hang on to it right now, we're definitely in the wait till next year mode. We've got 5 games left. We're trying to get out of them without really damaging the psyches too much of the freshmen, and just say, okay, learn from your first year, and let's work on the off season. Let's get some stuff together, and then we'll come out next year, and Sky coming back next year is going to be a huge for the Hoos. So unfortunately, it's another year where it's just looking forward to the future.
We're here with Hamilton Riley, and he's the man behind LambethField.com talking about the UVA basketball team. Yeah, Virginia, they lost to Duke on Wednesday night, so now they're 12-13 on the season, 3-8 in the ACC, and yeah, as Hamilton was saying, 5 games left. And I will say this, and I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks here. Look, this is a very young team, and this is pretty much the first big class here for Tony Bennett. And I kind of like it. It's like, look, if you're going to be a 500 team here in the ACC, you're not going to be very good. Let these young guys play. Let them learn to play in the ACC. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I mean, basketball and football are 2 hugely divergent type of thinking. When you're 18 and you come in to play basketball, I mean, you can come and play college basketball with most of the teams out there, and especially when you're a freshman nowadays, where everybody's got to go to school for a year, and you've got they rely on having freshmen as well as upperclassmen. You've got to get the players out there who can play. It's so hard to keep a red shirt on, which you've got to applaud Bennett for keeping James Johnson's shirt on with everything that's been going on. It's really hard to do that nowadays, but you've got to get the freshmen out there and learn. And I think the huge road test going out to California, then going out to Hawaii, then coming back to Minnesota, and then going to Tech. I mean, I think, and then going through an ACC season, I think it will, it doesn't get much harder than it is right now. It's pretty hard to imagine any other way to kind of start your first year at UVA. So you got to get them out there and play. And next year, when they get the 3 recruits in next year, and with, like I said, James Johnson and Scott, it's going to be a different team, and they'll definitely get a lot of experience, and you'd be able to use that next year.
Good stuff. Sports Radio 1400. Okay, yeah, I'm happy you agree with me on something. I agree. Most people don't, so I appreciate that. The games this weekend, I believe, is it Saturday they're taking on the Hokies? Is that right?
Yeah, they got them at 1 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, what do you expect? I mean, I think Virginia Tech's like, look, we want revenge, and we're going to do it on the John Paul Jones Arena court. I think they might get this one. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, the Hokies and the Hoos are on 2 divergent paths right now. I think the Hokies are, it's unfortunate with their injuries, and unfortunately they're having to use Delaney at the point, where he's a great natural too. If they had a point guard, this team would be a lock for a Sweet 16. But unfortunately, it's essentially 5 guys trying to handle the responsibility. But they're very athletic. They get a lot of rebounds, and I think the Maryland they played Maryland this past week, and after that game, I think they've separated themselves into the top 4 teams in the ACC. Now the only other things you really have to worry about with the Hokies are, can they go on the road and get a huge win, and this will be a great opportunity for them to do it. And even though they're not as tall as like a Duke or as long as a Florida State, they've got a lot of intangibles, and Delaney is just an amazing shooter, and it will be the same things that UVA has to do to win a game, like they did against Duke or Florida State. They've got to do against the Hokies. Be able to shoot the 3, slow down the tempo, but these guys like to run, and it might be over quick. So I'm cautiously optimistic that the Hoos will pull this one off.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because this is a must-win for the Hokies. They have got to keep winning here in the ACC if they want to, better their resume to get to the tournament. And this is kind of a trap game. They got the Cavaliers, and I think they got Wake Forest, and then they got that Duke game that's going to be played on, ESPN. And they're going to have the College Game Day. I think the Hokies, they cannot have any missteps, and I think this Virginia game could be the trap game.
Yeah, and for the Hokies, they're going to benefit by the what we refer to as the Seth Greensburg expansion. When you're the last team out the last 4 years and then they expand it, he's going to be able to sneak in. I think regardless of if they lose the next 2 games, I think the Hokies have done enough in the ACC for 2 reasons. One, it's hard to imagine the NCAA tournament taking less than 4 ACC teams, and second, outside of Duke, Carolina, and Florida State, there's a Clemson maybe, there's a Boston College maybe, there's a Maryland maybe, but if the Hokies can lose the next game and then win their next 3, that shouldn't be a problem at all for them able to get in the tournament. So yeah, it's sort of a trap game for them, but and I know they'll probably want to win it out of a revenge or pride, but I think they have a good chance of coming out ahead on this one.
Sports Radio 1400 WKAV. Yeah, we're talking about UVA basketball and now Virginia Tech basketball. And yeah, it'll be a good one this Saturday, and we're talking about that. Let's switch gears real quick here. On your website, you just posted your thoughts on the baseball season as it's going to start up this weekend. I can't believe we're already at baseball time here in Charlottesville, but what are your early thoughts on this Brian O'Connor 2011 team?
Well, I think the Hoos this year are going to have to reinvent themselves on offense. They've lost a lot of key 3, 4, and 5 hitters to the NBA to the MLB, and where they relied on a lot of the long ball, and in 2009 and 2010 they had a lot of walk-off home runs and able to use the long ball effectively. This team is a really good hitting team and can really slap it around a ballpark at UVA, which is one of the larger ones in the NCAA. So they are going to be more of a small ball player, and with an established number one pitcher in Danny Holtzman, if they can find one more good pitcher, and hopefully Klein moves into the closer spot, I think they are on the border of an Omaha team again this year. They were one game away last year, and I think they're probably about as good as they were last year.
I'm checking out your website, and I'm looking at virginiasports.com as well. Yeah, they're going to start today, first game at the Auburn tournament tonight, or this afternoon, 3 p.m. with the first pitch against UAB. Then they'll be going against Auburn tomorrow, and then Arkansas State on Sunday. That's what will be going on for UVA baseball. And you talked about this in your blog, Hamilton, about, and I know Brian O'Connor talked about this as well. It's like, look, everything up the middle is going to be new this year. New center fielder, new shortstop, new catcher. I mean, is that going to be one of the keys for this season?
Yeah, I mean, adapting roles, but, I think Brian's done a really good job of understanding what he was losing last year and playing a lot of the younger players to fill in those roles. I think if Bruno can establish himself at shortstop, and they've got two really good first-year outfielders, sitting in there, and if they can develop one of those guys, then you've got a rotation of four in the outfield to fill in, and you've got the new catcher, but he's been kind of rotated in and out for the last 2 years as being a first baseman and a catcher. So it's not really a super new position for him. So I think that really establishing the lineup is probably a little bit more critical than their defense part of it, making sure that they know how to get through 1 through 9 effectively, and with Werman leading off, and you're throwing in a bunch of new players. So if they set a lineup and find some power in the 3 and 4 spot, I think there's really no drop off.
All right, I got to ask you here, Hamilton Riley from LambethField.com, right here on the morning show. Okay, let me ask you. This will be the final question. I appreciate you coming on. All right, two-parter. As you even wrote this question on LambethField.com, what are Virginia's chances in the ACC, and then getting back to Omaha? Let's start with the ACC real quick. What do you think their chances are of winning it again?
Good to very good. The Coastal is really down this year. Georgia Tech and UNC are shell of their former selves. I think Virginia can take the Coastal pretty easily, but Florida State and Clemson have really built up their programs. And when Virginia went to Omaha, they were a number 6 seed, in the ACC tournament. So you can get up and you can hope for them to be on the other side of the equation when it comes to tournament time. But if it's a very good chance if you've got decent batting, consistent batting, and you've got two good pitchers, you can make it to the last game when they play in Durham at the Bull Stadium for the ACC tournament. And then the second part is, how do they do in the NCAAs? I think host site. If they can pull off, if they can get another host site this year, I don't think they're going to make the same mistakes as they did last year. They had a huge scoring drought, huge batting drought, and I think this year they can probably emerge from or at least a regional part of it, and then if they're home for a super regional, then I think they can make it back to Omaha. Anything less than that, and it starts getting a little dicey.
All right. Well, hey, Hamilton, I appreciate you coming on. And, yeah, I'm excited for baseball as well, as UVA will start later today at the Auburn tournament. They got a 3 p.m. first pitch today against UAB. Hamilton, enjoy the games, and especially the game tomorrow, as we will have UVA taking on Virginia Tech. Big game rivalry for the state. Enjoy all the games this weekend, and, hey, we'll get you next week, okay?
All right. Sounds great. Thank you, Mark.